Hey guys, so before I begin the stories, I got a new microphone, so hopefully my voice is a lot more clear. I apologize for the last videos, the microphone quality was not that good, it was breaking up a little bit, so hopefully this mic's a lot better. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Bear in mind, this was late 2009 and I was only 10 at the time. Me, my mother, and my stepdad lived in a small town in Sweden in a big house. If you were upstairs, you could still hear talking at the kitchen, so it wasn't that isolated. One evening when I was home alone because my mom and my stepdad went to my grandma's house, and I asked them if I could stay home alone because as a typical 10-year-old, I thought I was too grown up for a babysitter. After about an hour of nagging, she gave up and told me I could stay home alone, only if I kept the door locked and never opened to anyone. It was really exciting for me. I stayed up late watching cartoons. If I remember correctly, I was watching SpongeBob in our living room and eating ice cream. After about 5 minutes of eating the delicious ice cream, I was sure I heard a silent knock at the door. I didn't think much of it and continued watching the show. After 5 minutes passed and I heard the knock again, but this time it was much louder. I was frozen in fear and waited for the knocking to stop. After about 30 seconds, the knocking stopped, and the only sound was the TV. I called my mom, and she said she'll be home in 20 minutes. She told me to go to my room and lock my door. I went to my room without turning the TV off. It was pretty loud. I sat in my room for another 2 minutes. I heard somebody not knocking, but banging really loud at the door. I was frozen in fear once again. After about 3 minutes, I could hear the door lock turn, and someone walked in. The person was inside my house when I was home alone. I sat in my room quietly, then turned the TV off. The footsteps were louder, and it felt like it was coming towards my room. After a couple of seconds, the steps stopped, and I could hear knocking on my bedroom door. An old man said, "Let me in, I have something for you." I started screaming, crying for my mother, and the man started shaking the door handle. After 2 minutes, I heard a car outside. I looked out the window. It was my mom. I opened the window and screamed for help, and she said, "There's a man in my house." My stepdad ran to the shed and grabbed his axe and ran up the stairs. The man quickly ran out the back door. My stepdad ran after him into the streets. My mom called the police, and my stepdad calmed me down when he got in. This is my experience I will never forget. I'm a 20-year-old female, but I was around 12 or 13 around the time this happened. Some background information you should know about me. I lived in a small town, and like most places, there's a bad side town, and unfortunately that's where I lived. Being a female, my mother did not like when I went around town by myself. I did anyways because I was a rebellious teenager. I like to believe I can protect myself if need arises. As I walked around town like I usually do, it was starting to get late and decided to head home. I'm paranoid by nature, so when I noticed a disheveled man walking a few meters behind me and making the same turn as I do, it instantly turned on red flags. I crossed the street only for the man to follow my lead and cross as well. I tried to write off as a coincidence. He was getting close to me, so I crossed the street again. To no avail, he crosses too. I was starting to get a little freaked out, and I picked up my pace. He did the same time. At this point, I was freaking out and broke out running. Only a few minutes from my house, the man started chasing after me, and I yelled back of my shoulder to fuck off and get lost or I was going to beat the shit out of him. He kept running after me, so I ran down my long driveway into the door and slamming my house door shut. My mom ran over and asked me what was wrong. I told her what happened. She looked out the window of the front door and the fucker was waiting in the driveway. My mom stomped out of the house with my little brother's wooden baseball bat and started screaming at him, waving it around. He kept telling her he thought I was her friend, and that's why he was following me. My mom told him if she ever saw him near our house again, she wouldn't be afraid to use the bat in her hand. I like to say that was the last time I saw him, but a few weeks later, I was walking home around noon from my friend's house and noticed the same man following me again. I started walking faster to get away from him without raising suspicion, and I heard a lot of people talking and laughing outside. I took this opportunity to go around and talk to them about my situation and asked if one of them could walk me home. A college boy agreed. We started walking home, and the man who's been following me and waiting on the bridge I have crossed. On my way home, I told the boy that was the man that was following me. He got angry and shoved the guy, screaming in his face and asking him, "So why you following this little girl, huh? And I should beat the shit out of him for you." He told me to leave me alone and walk me home and told my mom about what happened. I never walked around the town by myself unless I had to, and thank God he never saw me again. As I talked about in a few of my other posts, if anyone has ever digged in my post history, I worked in fast food during high school and when I started college. I am a fairly small 18-year-old girl at the time, and I was scheduled to close the restaurant that night at midnight. We had been partially dead and the labor costs were pretty high, so about 9:30ish I was the only one at the front while my manager took drive-through orders and money. So around 9:30ish this guy walks in wearing really nice designer clothes, including brand name looking Aeropostale jacket with the hood up and pressed khaki shorts and sunglasses. He kept all this on as he sits at the bar-style seats at the end of the counter. This raised immediate red flags to me because it was dark outside. I feel like the guy's keeping his sunglasses and hood up to obstruct my view and the camera's view of his face. I hesitated, standing there unsure what to do. I pretend to be busy and wait for him to say something. Surely in a few minutes, he's behind me at the counter. "Excuse me, ma'am, but what can you give me? I'm sorry, you know when the food expires. I know it's really not that bad. Could you give me something?" This guy still hasn't taken off his sunglasses when he speaks. He does it so slow. When he opens his mouth to talk, I notice he's missing most of his teeth, despite the fact he's a very young man. "I'm sorry, I can't. My manager needs everything to count the waste products. I can get you a glass of water." He accepts, half smirking. I hand him the glass of water, and I dip behind the grill to find my manager. She seems, though, unconcerned and told me to go back to the front and get to work. Uneasy, I oblige. I continue to busy myself at the front as I see the guy standing there at the counter again, sipping water and watching me behind his sunglasses. I ducked back on the side of the grill, not visible from the counter, and I pulled out my phone to text my boyfriend and my father, both whom live close, by trying to get someone to keep an eye out on the situation. I'm one word into my first text when my manager clears her throat behind me. I turn around. She has her hand out, waiting for me to put my phone in it. "I'm trying to get someone out here to make sure nothing happens. I'm scared." "You're fine. Give me the phone. You can have it back for music when the restaurant closes." Helpless, I surrendered my phone and the only chance I had. I come back to the front. He is sitting there for a while, staring with a half smile on his face. At about 11:30, he gets up and walks out. Relieved, I go on with my closing duties and forget about him. We close and we're ready to leave the restaurant. I didn't have a car of my own, so my boyfriend would come pick me up. At about 12:30 in the morning, as I stepped on the sidewalk from around the corner of the building, I saw a movement head in my direction. I quickly jumped into my boyfriend's car. As soon as I touched the door handle, the movement immediately changed directions and headed the opposite way. I locked the car door, realizing who the person in the shadow was and what his intentions were. It was the same guy who sat in the lobby earlier watching me. I fully believe he intended on waiting for me and follow me to my car. Believe I have driven myself. I told my boyfriend to step on it.